We're going to go live now. It is. Okay, get ready.
Is that someone at the door?
No, that's
There
the
was-
Oh.
typing.
It was David. From Kingston, New York, Greenkill welcomes you to Words Carry Us, an ongoing series of live stream events featuring readings and interviews. I'm Betty MacDonald, writer, storyteller, and host of Words Carry Us. Before I introduce my guest tonight, I'll begin the evening reading from some of my own work. This is called Gratitude Blooms. This spring, the lilac didn't flower, but the pink azalea set a new goal for gorgeous. They're faded now, but they had a long run, and I'm grateful. Buds on mountain laurel and bridal wreath and peonies now about to open. Gratitude blooms. Oops. The second piece I'm reading is Grandma's Tornado. Early spring sunlight infused new leaves like a lantern. Wind so fierce, it twirled the branches of the maple tree, a ballerina on point. Swirling hail ripped the screens on that side of the porch. The sound of wind and clatter of hailstones awakened 4-year-old Gillen, napping on the flowered couch. I sat close to him so he wouldn't be scared when he opened his startled eyes. And he took it in. Grandma's tornado, he called it. A scar remains on the other side of the porch where the screen was hit. A memento of when there was a tornado in that maple tree. And this piece is about Mom. It's entitled Mom, but it's really about me. Happy Mother's Day. This piece is in my book that's coming out next month. The book is entitled All My Monsters Are Dead, published by Cod Hill Press. Mom. Only after her death did I find the words to bridge the void between us. After she died, I gained the patience to say words and let them be, without pushing or getting frozen with guilt and fear and guilt and guilt. Eventually, not caring. At first, I grieved at not finding the words sooner while she was living. I would have said, "Stop comparing me to others. Drop your scrim of disappointment. Allow yourself to see me." Her passing set free my pent-upness. If she'd lived another 20 years until she was 99, would I have found my words? Did she have to die for me to become patient and articulate? Will I have to die for my children to be free? Will that make dying worth it? When I heard her tell her friend we were never close, I was shocked. I thought we were close. My impression of our relationship was canceled. I seem to have dropped my script on the floor. Thank you, David. Steve Clorfeine is a teacher, a performer, and a writer, and one of the founding arts faculty at Naropa University, and has for many years taught at SUNY New Paltz. His performance work has been commissioned by venues in the US, Europe, and Asia, where he continues to offer theater improvisation workshops. A member of Meredith Monk's company, as well as the company of Ping Chong's Fiji Company, Steve has performed throughout Europe and the US. His sixth book, Seeing You Again, references the author's return to the landscape and solitude of upstate New York, and to the continuous process of recording the here and now of person, place, and the ordinary magic of daily encounters. Welcome to Words Carry Us, Steve Clorfeine.
Thank you, Betty. I wanted to chip in some Mother's Day notes. One is that my dear friend Hannah Pearl Walcott, whom I've known since she was born, gave birth to a baby boy yesterday. And so in a sense, I'll dedicate this reading to her.
Nice.
The other much less important but peculiar and funny occasion was that yesterday I was looking on Facebook, which I very rarely do, but I had put this notice about the book on Facebook, and so I have to check to see what if anyone's ordering the book. And I came across this, written to me, I suppose, but I don't know how Facebook really works. Anyway, here's what it says. You don't know me, but I'm searching for a Mrs. Clorfeine. She was my Spanish teacher at Long Island City High School in the 1960s. Just want to know if you know anything about her. She made a lasting impression on my life. So I thought that was really timely.
And is that somebody you know?
No, I have no idea who it was. And I even, I forgot his name. I meant to remember his name, but it's still there on Facebook somewhere.
So your mother wasn't the Spanish teacher?
Yes, she was.
Oh.
I wrote back to him. I said, I'm her son. I'm her son. Email me. Which I say to everyone who writes on Facebook. I say, email me. No one ever does. Right. I think maybe that's a good way of not having communication. It's not my intention, but it's what happens.
And you're not really against communication?
I'm not against communication. No, I'm not against. So I thought I would read just one. I have a number of pieces about my mother.
And I'd like to hear them.
I'm just going to read one. It's from the new book, Seeing You Again. My mother's slanted script on a yellow slip of Board of Education paper she's brought home from her classroom supply cupboard. Penciled note left on kitchen table, instructions for me to follow to get dinner ready after school. At 4:30, set oven to 350 for 10 minutes. Take dish covered in foil out of fridge. Place on top rack, set timer for 30 minutes. When timer rings, turn oven off and leave dish on rack. I'll be back by 5:30. The second part of this is a dream. An interviewer asks where I was born. I begin to answer when my mother interrupts. No, she says in a sharp tone. I was driving, and when I went into labor, I didn't go to the hospital. I went to the beach. You were born on the beach, which explains everything.
I'd like to hear more about your mother.
Well, maybe I should read. Maybe I should. There's one that's it's a little bit longer, but I could read it.
We're not in a hurry.
I have to find it. Oh yeah, here it is. It's from Together Apart. Oh, Together Apart and Other Poems.
And this is a book that came out a few years ago.
This was my fourth. This was my fourth book, and Seeing You Again is the sixth. The one before, I'll read from that, Simple Geography as well. This is called S. Klein on the Square. Rolled up under my arm, I carry an oriental carpet. Intermittently, I put it down, sit on it, contemplate nomadic issues. Will the carpet serve me in all climes and terrains? What if I have to haul it up a mountain? If it gets wet and won't dry out? My mother walks in front of me. She's wearing a black dress with an eyelet pattern, eyelet stitched in silver and lime green satin lining. Both high heels dangle from her right hand like Sophia Loren in Two Women. I follow my mother, knowing she is complicit in this journey, but uncertain why we've set out or where to. It's like going shopping with her as a child. Up the hill of shops on Broadway to the BMT subway line, above ground to Queensboro Plaza, then underground forever to Union Square. Finally, at 14th Street stop, skirting Union Square Park and into S. Klein on the Square department store basement. Past bins of women's underwear and brasiers. My mother tugging me along to women's dresses. Is the black dress with eyelets and lime green satin lining one she picked off the rack at S. Klein on the Square? How unlike her to wear something so good on a journey like this. I remember then that the oriental carpet has a long story to it, and I resolve to stay present to follow the dream along. We are and we are not who we are. We are going back in time, back to shtetl forebears in the Pale of Belarus, going from place to place on dusty roads. But why the high heels? Why the black dress? In the end, are we Italian? Mother and son sit together on the carpet, its border of blue grapes and mother's bare foot stretched out across a delicately woven blue-green vine. There is bread and, oddly, peanut butter. Might there also be in mother's patent leather purse a wedge of salami wrapped in waxed paper? This is interesting. I mean, it is a dream. And there are things in there that are real, which is, often happens in dreams. Like the carpet was actually a carpet that I once owned. It's a Tibetan rug with these green and blue vines on it.
Are you working on another book now?
I'm hoping to be working.
Okay, I'll back off.
I'm actually working on a complete revision of my source book, and I'm doing a lot of changing, including things that I haven't included before, and trying to be really complete about every exercise I ever gave in a workshop that was worth anything. Of course, I have to be the judge of that, so it's a little subjective. But I'm also putting in, and this would be the writing part, is I'd like to include stories of how various performances were made. It's something that very few people get to be, privy to. those kinds of stories, what goes on between, for example, Lanny Harrison and myself, and in these 10 years of collaboration making pieces.
So tell me a little bit about that collaboration.
Well, it started organically.
How long ago?
1975,
A long time
when
ago.
I was at Naropa in the summer program, and Lanny showed up along with other people who became very close friends of mine, and we danced together, performed together in a piece that Barbara Dilley put together, and there was already a very strong suggestion of collaboration in that piece, even though it was all improvised. We happened to just do things together that would, in the future,
I'm sorry.
kind of reveal and unfold in other ways. So then we worked together in Meredith Monk's company, and around 1987 or so, Sid Waller, who was producing up in Cooperstown, New York, asked us to do a piece together. And we made this piece called An Evening of Prose and Nonsense, which later became Sense and Nonsense, which had about 7 iterations over the next 10 years.
And you performed this piece?
We performed this piece in 4 or 5 states in the US and in Germany and Holland and Berlin. We performed this piece in Berlin a week after the wall came down.
Wow.
It was a very, very exciting
It
time.
must have been a very joyous time.
Very strange time also, because for the first 2 nights nobody showed up. Everyone was in the streets. But then it had a great run, and it kind of continued with being invited back.
So are you still performing? Are you still doing theater improvisation?
Not so much. I mean, every summer Lanny and I look at each other and we say, we've just got to do this one-act play, I'm Herbert. It's just too good now that we're really old enough for it to be the right play. We sort of did it on and off starting 20 years ago. And then, we get busy in the garden and so on and so forth. But, it could happen. I'm always kind of up for it.
You're up for
I'm
performing.
Up for it. Yeah, I'm up for performing.
I saw you perform only one time. You were playing Alice of Alice in Wonderland at Unison. I believe it was Unison.
Yeah. Oh, great.
It was very convincing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Alice and the Caterpillar, that scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was
that was part of the nonsense.
That was excellent.
Yeah.
So you perform and you teach and you write books? And how is that correct?
Yeah, that's a good summary.
Okay, and work in the garden apparently.
And work in the garden. I work in the gardens. Yeah, I love the gardens.
So, is it the balance of those things? How do you think of yourself? Are you a writer, a teacher, a performer?
Well, I think there's a foundation of teaching that started when I was very young. I think I was teaching at the age of 12.
And who were you teaching at the age of 12?
I was teaching twin boys who were about 6 or 5.
Were they neighbors?
They were neighbors, and no one was paying any attention to them.
And what did you teach them?
I taught them how to be friendly to each other.
How did that go? Were you successful?
Well, I had a good time. I had a very,
Then you
I
were
had a very good
successful.
time. Billy and Freddie, I had a good time. But I think by the time I was 17, I actually had a job teaching in a community center in the summer.
And what did you teach there?
Craft kinds of activities, getting these Bronx kids out into nature. We did an overnight sleep out in in the.
So you were working in the Bronx when you were 17. Where did you live? Did you live there?
No, I lived in Long Island City.
And you grew up in Long Island?
I grew up
City?
in Long Island City, yeah.
And is there nature there? I don't know Long Island at all.
Well, there were hedges that I practiced jumping over for many years until they got too big.
But did you go camping? And
No, I went to summer camp.
You went to summer
I went to
camp.
summer camp, and I avoided the activity that was called nature as much as I could, and got in tennis and baseball and swimming and
So those were the things you liked.
arts and crafts. I mean, that's where my crafts life started at summer camp.
At summer camp
Yeah.
when you were very young.
Starting, embarrassingly, starting when I was 6.
Why does that embarrass you?
Well, I don't really mean it's embarrassing. It's just always been a little stigma for me that I got sent away at the age of 6.
Did it hurt you? Did you mind?
I forgot about it after a while. After a day or so, I forgot about it. I had to. Suddenly had to survive in this camp atmosphere.
Do you have siblings?
I have a sister. She was always at the same camp. She's 6 years older. She was on the girls' side, but I just couldn't I can just remember it, Good morning, campers. Short pants and sweaters this morning. Or, good morning, campers. Raincoats and boots.
Wow, I went to camp. They never told me what to wear.
Oh, gosh. I grew up with a lot of order.
Apparently.
I wonder if I have something about order that I could read.
Why not?
Let's see. Well, I think I'm going to read some of these encounter poems.
Okay.
Because I kind of selected out a few encounter poems. So this is a story that Jenny and I share.
And who is Jenny?
Oh, Jenny is my wife. She's sitting in the audience.
Thank you, Jenny.
Elizabeth, who we call Russia, is not on the street in front of her one-room ground floor flat. No longer seated, beer or cigarette in hand, the green lawn chair flanked on either side by her arrangements of stray objects. In a chance encounter some years ago, hearing my wife's English accent, Elizabeth called her Scotland. Weeks later, when I introduced myself, she called me Mr. Scotland. That's how it began. Sometime later on, I found out her parents came from Belarus, which is why we called her Russia. Another time, when I told her my grandparents also came from Belarus, she opened the apartment door to a melange of odors and took a book of worn photographs from a shelf to show me her mother in the old country. Another day, she revealed her age, the same as mine, a few days apart. Now, years after barely holding it together in that dank, cat-fumed, tiny room, she's been taken away, raving. She has one tooth, a right incisor, or she had last time I saw her. I'll read a couple more.
Yes, please.
Of these what I'm calling encounter poems, which are, I feel it feels wonderful when an encounter actually provokes being written about.
Yes.
I think if I was not more attentive, but if I was more disciplined, I would have a lot more encounter poems. If I could sit down and just write them all out, I'd probably have one.
Oh, you have many more.
I'd have one a week.
You have many more encounters than encounter poems. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So this one is
Tell me what book you're reading.
I'm reading from Simple Geography, which was the book before Seeing You Again.
Okay.
And this is from Costa Rica, from a retreat I did in Costa Rica about 6 years ago. A man spends days making a thatch shelter, measures palm fronds, cuts them to fit the support frame. Pacific surf rolls at his heels while he climbs a ladder to place each frond, and when there's enough, he nails them down. Pacific is not the name I'd give this ocean, so much force and bluster. What is gentle is the wide boulevard left by low tide. Walk for miles on firm sand and no one in sight but tiny sand creatures, occasional dogs. I watch crabs emerge and descend, scuttle with house on back, or squirm to get themselves out. Their underground journeys leave sand maps that disappear each high tide. Waiting for rain, waiting for weeks, afternoons thunder but no rain, air like steam, April in Costa Rica. In this equatorial country, I learn only the days, the seasons, I imagine, you know when you've lived them. This, for example, the hottest month, and they say rain comes in September. At the end of the day, I ask myself if what I take should be summed up, and then why I love so much what's not my own.
Nice.
I'll do a bunch from Seeing You Again.
From the new book.
The new book, Seeing You Again, yeah. This is called February Hawk. I unpack the car, close the garage door, and head back down the driveway to check the mailbox. A quarter of the way down, maybe 20 yards away, I'm stopped by a hawk, busy with its meal on the driveway gravel. I imagine it's one of the neighborhood hawks we spot from our kitchen window. The hawk pecks and pulls at a dead creature. It's voracious. Until this week, the snow has been deep. The hawk doesn't let up, nor is it disturbed by my movement as I inch closer each time street traffic gives me cover. When feathers fly, I know the prey is a bird, one of the multitude of sparrows that hang around the tall japonicas that flank the corner of our neighbor's house. Now I'm within 3 yards of the hawk. After each peck or pull, it glances the corner of its hawk eye over at me. Strings of red intestines fly down the hawk's gullet. It clamps its left foot taut on the prey, torque for better ripping and tearing its feast. The hawk is gone. I feel the body of the dead bird offered up. Shaken by what I feel, I distract myself by remembering the patterns of the hawk's feathers, its underbelly and tail, trusting this will help me name it in the Peterson Guide.
That's, oh, wow.
I'll just do one more and then, let's see. Oh, yeah. Jasper. Yeah, this is good. This is from up in Delaware County. Jasper. Up the road, a billy goat penned in beside a red farmhouse. At my approach, it lets out a shrill cry, to which I call back best I can. I think it works because he lifts his forelegs onto the fence and shrieks even louder. What am I thinking? He can easily jump the fence, and here he is, poised to make the leap. I'd like to see that, but then he'd be out on the road. So I quietly talk him down, or so I imagine. He appears to relax. On the walk back down the road, a gray pickup turns into the red farmhouse driveway. I recount my conversation with the billy goat. Yup, the guy says, that's Jasper. I often wonder why he doesn't jump the fence.
So he really could.
I'm sure that guy wouldn't mind if Jasper jumped the fence. He just one more, and then we'll have a little conversation again. Okay.
Okay.
And this is called Grouse, and these are both from that one and Grouse are from up in East Meredith, Delaware County. Only trees, only snow, only the dead bird frozen on the porch where I protect her, measure her, turn her every which way to know her better. She came crashing through a pane in the garage door. I was away, there'd been a storm, big snow winds, she lost her bearings. No blood, just her, stiff and silent on a mat in the corner, shards of glass everywhere. I place her half buried in the snow. The next day, bring her up to the porch so I can visit her. Before leaving for the month, I carry her to a crevice under a boulder where she lies until the April thaw when the fox takes her.
So one thing we haven't covered is that I know you because my friend Linda insisted I should take your class on Sundays. And it's been years and years. It doesn't feel like, to me, that I've been in the, I joined the class after it'd been going for a while, but it doesn't feel like to me that I've been in the class for very long. And it's probably close to 10 years.
It's probably close to 10 years. That writing class has been going for 15 years.
And I love that class. It's very, I just get very excited. I love the prompts. I love the tasks you set for us. And I enjoy it so much. And I want to know, do you enjoy it as much on Zoom as you do in person?
There's no comparison to being in person. It's a three-dimensional thing, and I always put out snacks and glasses of water and iced tea or chai. I would always make chai. And then
it's like you've almost forgotten.
Right, I forgot. And Jenny would play the piano.
Right. Yes.
To start the writing. It was
very lovely experience.
It was just there's something about being and having people in one's home.
And do you think we'll do that again? You're talking like it's all in the past.
Well, it is. I mean, we did meet about a year ago in person. I think I remember.
Yes.
Well, my ideal would be that we could meet once a season. That would give it a framework that wasn't too challenging. Let's say, people are coming from different places.
I don't think anyone minds the travel,
okay.
Except for me because it's too early in the morning. But I don't think anyone minds.
You were never late.
Wasn't I? Yes, I was once. The time I had a flat tire.
Oh well.
That time.
You're excused. Yeah. I mean, Zoom's been remarkably good.
So for one of our members, it's like better than being in person because she can hear you.
She's got closed captioning. Yeah.
And also, she's remarked that when you're on Zoom, the camera is right in your face, and like when you're talking, you can really be seen. Whereas when you're in person, you just see the top of the person's head.
I mean, it does, it's been going now on Zoom since April of 2020, so it's 3 years.
It is 3
and
years.
It's become a familiar form, so it feels a little bit personable. We know where we are in our squares.
Yes.
And we recognize each other's backgrounds. Most of the people keep the same, except for me, most of the people keep the same background all the time. And
Mine changes.
And yours changes by season.
By season.
Yes. I think Eileen Hall's changes by season also. But Cindy Levine, for example, she's always in the same exact spot. I could paint.
Yes.
I could paint her background at this point.
Yes, I also want to see the rest of her house, but that has nothing to do with it.
So I feel like Zoom has accomplished a really good familiarity and acceptance of, glitches. And I don't know, it's what we've got.
It's what we've got.
It's what
And
we've got.
I think we're lucky to have it.
Yeah, I would say.
It came right in time for that pandemic.
Yeah.
The timing was perfect.
Yeah. I was going to read a couple of poems that came out. I mean, a lot of what's in this book is written during the pandemic, and
So yes, I'd like to hear them. I'll read the. This is the first poem. It's called "Still." A solitary time, not only winter, but the world split apart. Branches in the woods cross willy-nilly like waking from a dream. And then again, everything as it was, same time, same place, fat robin on a slender branch. And then this is a series of winter haiku that I collected during pretty much that first winter when we stayed in this house that we had just gotten. Very unexpectedly stayed in that house for... Is that the house in the country?
Yeah, that's the house in East Meredith. And during that time, in the writing group, we were working quite a lot with haiku.
I loved it, yes.
Not strict haiku at all. I mean, we did work with strict haiku just to practice, but then kind of opened it up to less formal haiku. So these are less formal haiku. And the whole series is called Winter Haiku. In fading light, I read Soen's poems, close the book when I can no longer see the words. Asleep, then momentarily awakened, only to drift back, what I call my life. Everything settles, deep snow still, postbox half buried. Bare branches, gray sky, tonight's snow womb. Bottom on one chair, legs up on another, tinkling water in heat pipes. Sitting, waiting for night, endless dusk. Delicate snow on tough spruce, my will bends to the weather. What aches more, this aging body or its shifting heart? Snow again, then sleet, time of no decision, only ice. Old friend habit disturbed this morning. I go through without bread or butter, forgetting day, forgetting dates, until another one arises, dark night and early morning. Simple things, a shawl wrapped around my legs, my comfortable chair, gaze onto snow-fogged horizon, into windswept sachet of trees. Is there a purpose? Heart beats. Breathe, I follow. Snowfall, fairy tale, windless. I place the dead bird in a crevice beneath a boulder. Full moon, year's end, dark snow shadows, stars scatter rainbow dust through the woods. At the time I was reading, and the reference to Soen's poems is Soen Nakagawa, who's a Zen priest and haiku master, and a very wild man. And it was about the third time I was reading his more or less memoir, which is filled with his haiku, but also little stories of his life. Mm-hmm. And what often happens for me, and I talk about this in the writing group, is if you listen to someone's voice, I think it's human nature. I hope it's human nature. If one listens carefully enough and takes it in a visceral sense, then the rhythm of that voice stays with you and comes out in your own writing. And so we spend some time, and I do this in high school, in the high school when I teach writing in these little residencies. I play them recordings of poets reading their poetry, and then I ask them to write just after that. I don't give any instructions at all. So, actually that reminds me of something I wasn't going to do, and I'm going to do it now.
Oh, good. Whatever is it?
Which is to say that I'm going to read some May poems because it's May.
Okay.
But E.E. Cummings is one of the greatest poets I know writing about spring.
Right.
And I've been influenced by him, and Jay Clayton and I have performed his poems.
So what you're going to read now is your poetry?
No, I'm going to read an E.E. Cummings poem.
Okay, and I think this will be the last one.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yes.
my goodness.
Well, maybe we can make two.
Yeah, well, maybe I won't read it then, because I want to read. I want to read. There are a couple of mine I'd really like to read to end things.
And we're going to miss the E.E. Cummings.
We'll extend it a little teeny bit.
Okay.
Okay. E.E. Cummings. Sweet spring is your time, is my time, is our time, for springtime is love time, and viva sweet love. All the merry little birds are flying in the floating in the very spirits singing in our winging in the blossoming. Lovers go and lovers come, a wandering, but any two are perfectly alone, there's nobody else alive. Such a sky and such a sun I never knew, and neither did you, and everybody never breathed so many kinds of yes. Not a tree can count his leaves, each herself by opening, but shining who by thousands mean only one amazing thing. Secretly adoring, shyly tiny, winging, darting, floating, marrying in the blossoming, always joyful, selves are singing. Sweet spring is your time, is my time, is our time. For springtime is love time, and viva sweet love.
Wow.
So,
Under the influence of E.E. Cummings, you wrote the following.
yeah, I'll let me find. If I can. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, this is called May. It's from Together Apart Again. White gloves, pink azalea, dogwoods, and church on Sunday. It's spring and ice cream trucks. It's spring and how to say it all before I forget. It's spring and everywhere you turn a feast appears to eyes and phrases scatter. It's spring and we recite the names, jasper, poppies, wild viburnum, early blue violets, and wish forever hallelujah spring. It's twitters, it's rise, display, arise, hallelujah spring. Even the disasters of my thoughts roll over dead.
Nice.
I'll do one last one, if that's all right.
Yes, that's
Okay.
fine.
It's also from Seeing You Again. And oh, sorry.
You could read two if it's hard to decide.
If I could find one, I'll be lucky. I have them all bookmarked. Okay,
know, you have
I'll do
them
this as
homework.
I'll do this as a closing. Goodness. Gosh. Oh yeah, it's called Here, Over There. For Jenny. It's midsummer, and next to an open piano, she plays Schubert. I'm sorry. It's midsummer, and next to an open window, she plays Schubert on the piano. Our carpenter friend Challing stops banging, comes down the hill, and lies under the window to listen. Out west, Texas, near the Mexican border, windows in the children's detention center locked shut, and there is always a child wailing. How do we fit this country? Land of the free, land of the free-for-all, crowded tears and blasphemy. House wren, nuthatch, titmouse, small migrants on their way about. We are constant gardeners amidst our own wreckage.
Thank you.
Um,
You have one more, I can tell.
Yeah, no, I wanted to finish with these last two.
Okay.
Last two in the book. It's called Becoming. I could live with little, but little by little, all these years, so much has come to live around me, and I like it all. The pew in the corner of the room, the ones it was built for, the ones who sat upright on it, knelt onto red cushions and recited words they'd been taught. Before that, the wood, the tree, the sawyer, carpenter, hands that shaped the pew, the God in our hands. Gradually, I give up things, tennis racket, cross-country skis, baseball glove, that I won't dance again the way I remember myself. So I give up this and that, and even myself. I become solicitous, felicitous. That's an aspiration poem. Okay. Last one.
Okay.
For
let's
everybody.
go.
This one's for everybody. It's called We Meet Again. We meet again over coffee, over scotch, over time and time again. Make beauty of nothing as if nothing ever happened.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
Thank you. So anybody who's live streaming now or later on, if you go to my website, which is my name, you can order the book, and I'd be delighted to send it to you or drop it off at your door if you're within range.
Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. And thank you, David.
Steve, what a pleasure to speak with you and to listen to your poems. Tonight's guest on Words Carry Us from Greenkill has been Steve Clorfeine, writer, teacher, performer. Greenkill is honored to announce the exhibition of Fred Dungan, Red Hammond, and Stephen Van Noort, presently in the gallery until June 24th, 2023. Exhibition hours are from 3 to 5:30 p.m., Tuesday through Saturday. You may make a special appointment by calling 347-689-2323. Located at 229 Greenkill Avenue in Kingston, New York, Greenkill is a public arts performance and education space. For more information about exhibitions, as well as live stream and live audience events, email us at 229greenkill@greenkill.org. As always, we're grateful to David Schell, who organizes, directs, and makes things happen here at Greenkill. Our thanks go out to Shirley Hoffman-Warren, who composed and performed our musical theme with the assistance of Jason Warren, recording engineer. Many thanks for you tonight, to our guests tonight. for tuning in and watching us on YouTube. Again, our guest tonight on Words Carry Us live stream from Greenkill has been Steve Clorfeine. I hope you've enjoyed Words Carry Us for May 14th, 2023. I am your host, Betty MacDonald. Greenkill out.